Hello. It is a Monday, I suppose. I don't even know what day it is today. I've missed everybody. It's been a week or so, or 2 weeks even. But it's been a really trying time emotionally. And I want to apologize for getting on here almost 15 minutes late today. I almost forgot, but I'm here. And I'm happy to see anybody else that's here right now. Thank you for stopping in. And it's been a really insane week. We tragically lost a childhood friend, and that just completely took my breath away for like days. And I had to basically force myself to do this today to kind of look forward to something because I have not been motivated at all. And yeah, so that's where I've been over the last few weeks. And I hope that everyone is doing well and that you're doing good. It's been pretty quiet over here in New Jersey. Weather has been so and so. It's kind of like cloudy and sunny every day. So we're thinking it's going to rain and then it doesn't. And so that means we haven't been outside much. And I just need to do that. So that's really where I'm at, just kind of craving some better things coming up in the next few weeks. So I hope that you're all doing good. I don't want to be sad here. So I just want to get into this little book recommendation video. And Lila may be waking up earlier than not. She went to bed really early today, so you'll see her peep out of this door if she's up, and I'll have to turn this off. So let's just get into it, shall we? Again, hi Hunter. Oh, so happy you're here. If you have any doula questions or any birthy questions, anybody that joins, feel free to drop them in the chat because I'll also be answering questions on this live. Like all of my lives, I kind of leave that open, and that's a fun little way to get conversation started. So feel free to write in the chat if a question comes to mind. But yeah, I'll just kind of go through my favorite birth books. And if you have any to add, feel free to add them to the list because this chat should be able to be replayed on the playback. So we'll have the chat going for this upload. It hasn't worked for the prior videos for some reason, so I'm not sure what's up with that. But anyway, my first couple books that I want to chat about are more towards just natural birth. And anybody can read these, whether they're doulas or birthing people or mothers or anyone that's going to, try to get pregnant in the coming years. I think that they're great to read at any point, but I always recommend these to my birth clients. I always just give them like a little list of books that I really like, or I'll kind of guide them in the direction that they sound like they're coming from or wanting to learn more about. So the first one that I'm actually still in the middle of is Gentle Birth, Gentle Mothering by Buckley, Dr. Sarah Buckley. This is a great read, and I find that it's not too, I mean, there are her own biases in here, like all of these books, but it's not too, focused on one type of birth. She talks about hospital birth. She talks about things to know about hospital birth and interventions. She talks about all of her beautiful home births and those experiences. And she kind of just ties together the beauty of what our bodies are capable of doing, along with how to kind of navigate the hospital interventions that are very common, like some really important things to know about those and what that could look like. So it's a really good book for any type of birth that somebody is looking to achieve. I think it's a great way to gain some insight. And it's a great read for a doula too, because I didn't know a lot of these things about these interventions before reading this book. So it's very good. And it is gentle, like the title, Gentle Birth, Gentle Mothering. She relays all the information in a really graceful and gentle way. And personally, I love hearing about people's biases because they've come from experience or for a reason. So I always like to take that into account when I'm reading different books. And she is so open about what she feels. So this is one of my top favorites, and I'm about halfway through. I kind of keep marking different places because I'll get intrigued and then I'll stop and start somewhere new, which I never read books like that, but this is the type of book that you can do that with, in my opinion. And Deepak Chopra made a foreword in the front of the book, which I thought was really interesting because I love Deepak from a spiritual perspective, never related him to birth. So it's really good. And there's a foreword by, I guess that's a review. This is a foreword by Aina Mae Gaskin in here too. So yes, a lot of well-known people have loved and admired this book. I see it on many lists of must-reads as a parent or a doula. My next book is Aina Mae Gaskin. She has some controversy around her, but I just enjoy her work, honestly. This is Aina Mae's Guide to Breastfeeding. And the reason why I brought this book forward today isn't so much to talk about the breastfeeding, but she has a book called Guide to Childbirth, and it looks very similar to this page. One of my clients is actually borrowing that right now. And I so enjoy Aina Mae's books because she comes from a time where all she really did was support home birth. And with that perspective, you're able to see really the kind of some of the difficulties and also beauties of birthing, in a home birth setting. Because in her book, she always has stories of home births, and you can kind of read about the birth stories and then get into the educational portions. So her guide to childbirth is very informative, and it actually it helps me kind of ground myself when I'm kind of feeling like I need to have a little bit of an educational, just reminders about how beautiful natural birth is. I'll go to her Guide to Childbirth, and I can reread that many times. It's very easy to read, and it feels like you're in a story. It's really good. So all of these, by the way, I'll leave them down below. So they're all on a list for you if you want to buy any of them or check any of them out a little bit further. The third book is called Birthing from Within by Pam England and Rob Horowitz. And Pam is a CNM, Rob has his PhD. And what they do in this book is really beautiful. It's very artsy, and I think that it shares how creative preparing for birth can be. It really talks about like creativity and art and flow in pregnancy for labor preparation. And I think that's so beautiful because there is this creativity in labor for both the person that is in labor and the support people around her. This is just such a cool way to look at birth because I feel like it just kind of tries to encompass the many different layers that could be felt in labor. And it kind of gives a way to turn that into an art therapy before labor, so you can get rid of any fears or any like stories that you've heard of other people, or when you're just trying to envision what you want for your own experience. They have a really cool way of suggesting different therapies and how to work through them, and it's very inspiring. Every time I read this book, which has been a couple times, I always am like ready to have a baby. I feel so prepared. And just because it taps into that creative side. I want to show you some of the illustrations though, because it makes it a really cool read. Let me go to the front real quick. And I get most of my books from Thrift Books. So if you're looking on Amazon, because I'll probably link them down below in Amazon. If you're looking through Amazon and they're just too expensive for you right now, check out Thrift Books or like another used book website, because I hardly ever buy my books new. They almost always come from Thrift Books. So they have childbirth classes, birthing from within, and some of the techniques they just are so different from other childbirth classes. Some of the things that they chat about are making birth art, journaling and poetry, extensive training in pain coping, role playing, foot bath rituals, the unfoldment process, birth from a baby's perspective, which I think is so interesting, and baby proofing marriages and stuff. So this book has a ton in it, and it just really harvests that the possibility of creativity in birth. Oh, I love that, Hunter. I think audiobooks is such a great way to go because not a lot of people read nowadays. I feel like a lot of people are heading more towards the audiobook, especially if they're not really readers to begin with. That's a really good idea. A lot of the times I do have conversations with people and they're like, I'm not really into reading. So I'll have to remember that for sure. I don't know why I haven't actually, because I like podcasts and audiobooks a lot. I don't really listen to music when I drive. It's mostly books. I'm going to write that down actually. Okay, so the next couple books are still very important for birth from the birthing person's perspective in my idea of birth. I feel like these are very educational and good to just kind of help someone get the idea of what birth could be and what it is, and they're just very informational. And these books are more, they've been very helpful to me as a doula. So these books were great and helpful, but I feel like that's good for someone who's ready to have their baby. And these are more, which this book also falls into that category, but the next books coming up have been very helpful for me as a doula. This one, Orgasmic Birth, Your Guide to a Safe, Satisfying, and Pleasurable Birth Experience by Elizabeth Davis and Deborah Pascali-Bonaro. This book is great. And this isn't a book where I'm like, oh, you have to read Orgasmic Birth. Like, not everybody wants an orgasmic birth experience, and that's totally fine. And reading it, I don't really feel like it is in that way. It's just kind of a guide to a satisfying birth experience, one where you're not really emphasizing the pain, more the pleasure and the experience of birth, that beautiful unfolding of birth. I think that's more of why I enjoy this book. It just kind of shows you how beautiful our bodies are made and how the hormones really support the birthing process. So it doesn't really talk much about intervention or hospital birth. This is more the innate unfolding of birth. And I think it's a really interesting read. It's a lot about relaxation and stress reduction and, everything that you can do to kind of prepare for that more satisfying birth experience. Then, especially if you find like you are more nervous about the pain, or if you find yourself continuously going back to that, this is a really beautiful book on focusing on more of the good. And it just shows you that satisfying births are possible and they are to be planned for, because we live our lives tense. We live our lives forgetting how to breathe, forgetting how to relieve stress and relax. We have a very hard time doing that, just in general. So I think this book just kind of focusing more on how important it is to de-stress and relax and learn about what your body can do. It just gives you all the more power to root for that satisfying birth experience. So this is definitely more for the home birth or hypnobirthing type of person. But I think that anybody that is open to reading a book called Orgasmic Birth should read this, because I think it could be very empowering for somebody to kind of read somebody else's stories and know that this is possible for birth. And these next couple of books, like I said, are more for a doula or somebody that's like a birth support. Really good for people that are having birth companions, to recommend their birth companions to read these books, because this is a way for somebody that just wants their sister or wants their mother or somebody that isn't a doula to support them. If they want them to have some more information, these are the books that I tell my clients to give to their family members or their partner. And I've found them very informational. So you may have read these already if you're already a doula, but this one is The Birth Partner by Penny Simkin. And I really enjoy Penny Simkin's way of writing. She wrote this book in very, like, you can kind of see this book lined up in folders, like a folder about the first stage, the second stage, how to comfort somebody. It really is a complete guide to childbirth and really great for any support person, especially a partner or someone that's going to be very close with them in the experience. But I'll just give you some examples of how in depth. They go into prodromal labor, getting into labor, the different things that someone may experience. This is just a little guide of normal labor in a nutshell. So some things that you can kind of share with your clients or just kind of keep in mind for yourself if you're a newer doula. And it also has, so this is the guide to what happens. And then next to it, it says how you and a doula can help. So how you, as in the birth support person, whether that's the partner or the sister or somebody, and a doula can help. So it gives you a lot of different ideas. And I've read this book, again, multiple times. I've brought this book to births because it has some things in here that if I have some time while somebody is sleeping with an epidural, I'll take it out and kind of just read and even maybe read a little bit about what's happening to that person that day. It's a really good thing to have in your doula bag. It also goes into complications in late pregnancy, more of the medical side of childbirth, and some of the things that may be options in the hospital birth setting. So pain medication, epidural information, anesthesia, creating a code word with your client on if they're just like over what's happening in the room. A code word is a great thing to have between either a birthing person and their partner, or a doula and the partner and the birthing person. This gives you a lot of good ideas. It is really, truly a complete guide to childbirth. And it says for dads, doulas, and other labor companions. So that's a favorite for sure. And this is another guide type of book. It's called the Doula book. And this is by Marshall Klaus, John Kennell, and Phyllis Klaus. And they are medical doctors. This really does kind of go through the studies and the benefits of having a doula. So it's more about like the statistics side, but also some really common ways to help a birthing person. So it kind of gives you ways to help somebody cope in birth in a hospital setting. Informed consent, it talks a lot about that. It talks a lot about numbers, and it talks about the longer term benefits of a doula. So if you're still not 100% sure on the benefits of having a doula, or if you are a doula and you're not 100% sure, especially if you are looking to just have an overall sense of what doula work can look like, because it does go over the many benefits, I suggest getting this one. And it is a quick read. It talks a little bit too about how you can help the father come in, or the birth partner. And yeah, it's very interesting. This is a shorter book, and I feel that this one was something that I kind of just read out of curiosity, not necessarily that I needed anything from it, but it's another book about doulas. I haven't noticed that there are many of them out there. This is now more of, I guess we'll finish the last one. This can be both for birth or postpartum. Actually, I'll do that one next. So the next one, The First 40 Days. This is a favorite by Heng. And Heng is, she actually also came out with a fertility book. And the reason why I loved this was because I'm a holistic birth and postpartum doula. So for me, it's really about the mind, the body, the spirit. Like, I think all doulas are holistic doulas in a way. And I just like to emphasize that, because nourishment and health and going through all of those categories with somebody before they have their baby, I think that's so important, because when we can hold space for somebody and show them that these are the things that can be very helpful for after birth, it makes talking about these things like nourishment, it kind of opens the door to that, because I think a lot of people sometimes don't really think about health or nourishment being an important part of the birthing experience. And it is so important. So this book is great for even in pregnancy, because it just really emphasizes healing after birth, but I think it can really bring in how important that is for also in pregnancy and starting that while you're pregnant, because it really only gets harder when you're healing. Caitlin, you love the first 40 days. Me too. I've been back and forth, always checking things out in this book since I've become a doula. I love it. And it's so pretty to like have out on a bookshelf. So just to give you guys a little insight of what this is, I also think it's very recommended for postpartum care, but I do think it's important for birth as well, because then they can start preparing for what that postpartum is going to look like. So this is a lot about like the ancient techniques like aromatherapy and different foods to eat. And it's very cool, because I think culturally we're not really used to having certain traditions in the United States, unless you're taking some tradition from your grandparents or your mother if they came from another country. So this kind of helps in showing all of the different cultures and things that are out there. This is primarily Chinese, but it really just opens, the door to, oh, I could have this for my postpartum and prepare like this and get a holistic postpartum doula to help me cook. And yeah, it just shows the ways that you can really be taken care of after you have a baby. And my last recommendation is Holding Space by Amanda Dobra Hope. And as you'll notice, this isn't a birth book. This is a guide to supporting others while remembering to take care of yourself first. And this is what I'm actually about to reread, because this is all about holding space and keeping the emotions within separate from somebody else's experience. And if I've learned one thing as a birth doula, it is that we need to learn how to hold space and not take on what other people are going through. And I think this type of book is really good for anyone that's a healer or in the medical field, or, a nurse, doctor. It's the people that are drawn to this work are very sensitive, I've noticed. And some are, some may not be, but from what I've experienced, we are sensitive and we like to help people and help people heal. And I think that if we go in and we forget that we are holding space, we are not meant to take that on, it can become a little bit, I don't know, it becomes a little bit jaded in our eyes, and we can become burnt out and even kind of down if we take on somebody else's life experience. This book shares how important it is to learn how to create those safe boundaries, and all while still holding space for somebody. I'll see if I can find it's really great. It talks a little bit about relationships, if you know how to notice if you have kind of like a little bit of a difficulty in doing this. And let me see. Yeah, it talks about obviously personal growth and self-care, but also how to identify your gifts and understanding the energetics of setting boundaries and directing your energy, personal relationships, and space holding as a profession, which is a lot of what we do as doulas, is space holding in the pregnancy, in the labor experience, and the postpartum healing. Holding space for people as they become who they are, and also just kind of the creation process of what this could feel like, and how to know, I guess, if you're not doing this for yourself. It's a very good book. And this is a quick read. I believe it's like 115 pages. So it's small, it's worth it, and it's definitely a favorite. I'm going to leave this one out because I'm going to get back to that one for sure. Wow, Hunter, you've been busy. 2 more births? And that was only like 2 weeks ago. That's amazing. what have you all been up to? Does anybody have any questions relating to doula work or birth, postpartum care? I would love to hear them. I'm not on call right now for the first time in a really long time, and it feels so weird. I'm like twiddling my thumbs thinking of the next thing I can start because I cannot sit still. But yeah, it's a little bit about, I guess, where I'm at right now, which as a birth and postpartum doula in the past, I've always kind of went back and forth between birth and postpartum. And for the first time ever, I am not taking on any postpartum clients right now. So, and I won't be taking on any postpartum clients because I just am feeling a little shift and change right now. And let me know if you're feeling that too, because the air is thick. That's all I can say. I feel like I haven't had a chance to really think about what I need in the past few months or weeks. It just feels like time has been like weighing on me, and I've just been trying to figure out what everything means to me right now and get really clear on how I'm feeling about work and life and being home with my daughter. And I've realized that every day is just a game of catch up, and I need to give myself like a break to just figure out what's the next step for me. And I'm kind of feeling all of that out right now. So I don't know how you guys have been feeling, but if you've been feeling the same way, I can totally relate. Time is feeling heavy. The days are feeling heavy. And I just am trying to find a way to continue to, stay doing something, but not necessarily stress myself out like I'm supposed to have all of the answers right now, because I don't. And I cannot act like I do, because that just adds to the confusion. I appreciate that, Hunter. I think that the hard part about that Facebook group is it doesn't have a lot of people in it. And it's really, I wasn't sure exactly what was supposed to come of it. But I guess if people do continue to post, it could be like an informational source, which would be really cool in the future. But yeah, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that we have it. So if people want to find the Facebook group and kind of stay updated with lives, they can, if they're not really on YouTube a lot. But yeah, that's really great. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, Lewis. Oh, I hope you have a beautiful day too. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. God bless. I appreciate that. All right. Well, if we don't have any doula questions for today, I will probably wrap up now. Oh, Hunter, I think I might have seen a message. I'm not really too active on Messenger, so that might be why. And I can't always figure out like the Messenger for the different Facebook groups or pages. Like my business page is separate from the YouTube Doula Connect or Birthwork Connect. So I don't think I always know where the notifications are coming from, so I can't always find it for some reason. But yeah, the way to get to me, I would say, is Instagram, either my personal or the work one. I normally see those more unless it's like a hidden message, which randomly happens. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you all for being here. So the Facebook group is called, I think it's called the YouTube Birthwork Connect. I will leave it down below if anyone's interested, if you're rewatching this and joining. The main purpose of it is to just kind of bring anyone who's from the lives to there. If they have any questions for each other, or if they want to meet other doulas that are new. I'm also going to be putting up when I'm doing my lives on there as well as on YouTube. So they'll be in a few different places if people prefer Facebook to YouTube sometimes. I'm getting some calls, so I'm going to go. But I want to thank you all for being here, and I will see you in the next live, whenever that it is. I think it will be soon. But I hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.